Hello, welcome to Implementing Plaid in Bubble.io. This is Unit 8, covering Plaid's identity product. My name is Brian Alderman. I'm the owner and principal at Lost Sheep Advisory. We're a boutique no-code consulting firm specializing in financial and business operations solutions. I'm the developer of the Plaid plugin that you're using for Bubble. I'm also the creator of ivycode.eco and the developer behind a number of Bubble apps. When you purchase our plugin, you have free support and access to us via email. Please feel free to send us a note at info@lostsheep.dev. We also offer on-demand Bubble office hours, development projects to execute your vision, and a fractional CTO strategy to help you lead to expert ownership of your technology. Check out our website, lostsheep.dev, for more details. In this video, we will cover how to integrate the Plaid Identity product into your Bubble app. Specifically, we'll see one example of how to obtain identity data and discuss some potential uses and pitfalls of the identity product from Plaid. Let's dive in. Over in my Bubble app here, I have created a quick example for us of how to create identity. Identity is a pretty straightforward product to use. All we're going to need to do is save or display the data. So in this case, I have just a repeating group with repeating groups inside of it that is of the type, if I pull this up, account holder identity body account. So each identity data ties to an account within Plaid. So that's what this will show, is each account is the parent group here. And then within that, there are 4 different pieces of identity data that Plaid can give us: their names, addresses, emails, and phone numbers. So in this case, just for the sake of this demo, I've created a section and a repeating group for each of these, because there can be more than one name, more than one address, email, phone number for each account, depending on the specific circumstances. So it's all repeating group use cases. So in this case, I just have a repeating group here of the, you can kind of look at this and say the current cells, account holders, identity, body accounts, owners is names. So each item's names here, that shows up here. Each item's addresses, that shows up here. And then within that, each address has the different address parts that you would come to expect. So like streets, cities. For the sake of this demo, I'm just showing streets and cities. It's got emails. Emails have a data parameter, that's the email itself, and then some additional metadata on top of that. So a type, primary, secondary, work, home, etc. And then a flag is primary, yes, no, depending on what you're trying to do. That may be helpful. Phone numbers, similarly. It's just a list of all of the phone numbers for all of these folks, and then the specific data tied to it and the type of it, and is it primary or not. One thing to note here, there's not a relationship directly between these different lines. So if you have 2 individuals named here, Alice and Bob, just because you have then 2 addresses or 2 emails doesn't mean the first one's going to be Alice and the second one's going to be Bob. It's just all of the ownership information about a particular account will show up here. How does this get set? Just like any of our other link flows, and go check out the Plaid link video if you haven't already. I'll link it in a button up above us right now. This link new account button goes out and does the link flow. I'm using the identity product. And again, check out the link video for more about this. So I'm initiating with the identity product, because that's what I need to use. Note that you don't have to do this if you're doing identity in addition to one of Plaid's other products. Whenever you ask for identity information, it automatically goes and adds that product to the account. So you don't have to specify this up front. You have to specify something. So say you're getting transactions are off. Go check out the other videos on those. You can do those and then come around and do identity later. You may not need this for all of your users. You may not want to pay for it for all of your users. So you don't have to do it this way. And identity will just automatically add when you ask for identity information. So what does that look like when Plaid is successful? I won't go through what that all does. You can go see the other videos for that. When it's successful, all I'm doing here is setting that repeating group's data to Plaid account holders identity body accounts. Where did this come from? I went and I got data from an external API, and I looked for identity, Plaid testing account holder identity. You'll just say Plaid account holder identity. Pull that in here. I need the access token. I'm just going to get the access token from the same institution that we're setting here. So there's my access token. And then I want each of the accounts, because remember, we set this repeating group to an accounts repeating group, and then within that is all of the ownership data. So this is the action that will actually make the data appear on our page. And we can go ahead and run this. One other note, I'm here showing it on the page, right? That's probably not your actual use case to display the identity data. You could create an API workflow here to take in the data. You could do this on the back end through an API workflow to take in all the data that you're expecting. You could put this on a screen for someone to click, hey, it matches or not. It depends on your use case. This is what we're doing for the sake of this example. So if I go over and let's see this in action. We'll refresh the page here. We'll go ahead and we'll link into account. And it will take us through the link flow that you should already be familiar with. And I'm in Sandbox, just with Sandbox data, as with all the other videos. Once I've connected this, after a second here, that workflow will run and you'll see the data populated here in the accounts pane. And I think I only selected one account just then, so only one shows up. If I'd picked more than one account would show up, and I've just pulled in the account name here. And then you start seeing the identity data that's available, which is the names. In this case, Alberta Bobbeth Charleston is the only name. I've got 2 addresses associated with it. I've got a couple different emails associated with it in here, a couple different phone numbers associated with it in here. So that's the basic how you get the data. Let's talk a little bit about how you could then use this data. One thing to note, Plaid advertises that 97% of institutions provide some sort of identity data, so you'll have pretty good coverage. However, the data can vary significantly. The only parameter that's guaranteed for all accounts is name. You'll always get a name. Everything else, addresses, emails, phone numbers, that's often going to be there, but it's not always guaranteed to be there depending on specific circumstances, what that bank shares, etc. For that reason, having some sort of human in the loop or a fallback option for identity verification, again, depending on how you're using this, is highly recommended, whether it's another way for a user to verify their identity with you or another way to gather this address information if you can't find it through this identity API. That's essential. The other thing to be aware of is, depending on your use case, you may be trying to match this data to other data that's in your system. And there you've got to be a little bit careful from a data cleaning perspective. And I've just added 2 quick examples in here to show us what this means. So let's say in the first case, your user has entered their name as Alberta Charleston, right, in like a first name, last name type field. You'll notice here, however, the name came through as Alberta Bobbeth Charleston. So I'm not getting a 1-for-1 match, which is why I'm getting this like exclamation point example here. So it's not able to match them directly. I could be doing keyword searches or fuzzy word searches that may be a better way to match names. I'll let you figure that out on your own for your own use cases, but just something to be aware of. You can't guarantee that the data is going to be exactly like it entered. I think in my example app here, I did another example. You can look at some of what I'm doing here, where it's an exclamation in any case except where Alberta Charleston is exactly what's matched. And remember, that's not what's matched. It's currently Alberta Bobbeth Charleston. So that doesn't match, which is why this condition is not being thrown. And maybe a user had instead put in Alberta B Charleston, right? That also wouldn't match. Or if that was what you were looking for, you'd never get to that matching condition because the underlying data, again, is Alberta Bobbeth Charleston. So different cleaning that you need to do if you're trying to do programmatic matching. That holds true for all of these fields. I've got another example down here with phone number. Let's say in your database, you're storing phone numbers with the dashes as formatted, this 111-222-3333, right? So in this case, the phone number you get from Plaid is uncleaned. It's just the digits, right? So if I don't go in and clean out the digits, then it's not going to fully match, even though I can, behind the scenes here, do something like, hey, if I remove the digits, give me a partial match, and if I keep the dashes, give me a full match, right? So different levels and fuzziness you can do. And again, your particular use case will kind of govern your right approach to doing this sort of matching. But this kind of matching can be true for all of these fields. Plaid's documentation on identity, and this is linked in the lushy.dev site as well, if you need to get to it, has some good introduction to this kind of fuzzy matching ideas down here under matching identity data. So I'd encourage you to check that out and just be a little wary and careful as you are developing identity matching. So we've looked at how to identify or how to obtain identity data. We've talked about some potential uses and pitfalls of identity data. I hope this helps for your various use cases. And as always, feel free to reach out to info@LostSheepDev if you have any questions. Thank you so much.